All right, well, can we launch right in? We're ready to go.
Go.
It is
Okay, so it's 5:21, so we'll call the meeting to order.
all right, and I'll take us into a roll call vote. Deb Willems,
Here.
Parisa Brown, looks like she's absent. Hank Alina,
Here.
and Jackie Height.
Here.
All right. I don't know if you have the agenda in front of you, Deb, but the next thing is approval of the agenda.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
And hand it back over to you, Summer.
All right. Deb Willems,
Aye.
Hank Alina,
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items?
No, there is not. We haven't received any.
Okay. So assuming none for non-agenda items or any public comment for agenda items, so we can move on to reports.
That would be
That would be me. Sorry, I'm trying to find my unmute button. I will start with the executive director's report. A few items to report tonight. School is out. Teachers, counselors, and case managers are all on summer break. Learning center directors, summer break. We concluded the year with our class of 2021 with a total, well, I'll tell you the grads from each learning center. We had 10 graduates in Buellton, 34 graduates in Lompoc, 7 in San Luis Obispo, 53 in Santa Maria, and 40 in Santa Barbara. Just so the board's aware, we did have 3 students who we expected to graduate, but ended up failing one or more of their classes, unfortunately. So one of them is going to make up that failed class in summer school, and one is returning next semester. And unfortunately, the third is not returning to Olive Grove. So she or he will not be getting their diploma from us. There were 5 more seniors who had come to Olive Grove in their high school careers quite credit deficient. So we were aware that they would not be able to make up those credits in time to graduate at the end of their senior year. So they are returning this fall as so-called super seniors. But we're very proud of our graduates and all the hard work they've put in to achieve their diplomas, and very grateful to all the teachers and counselors and case managers and district office staff and support staff, everybody that helped them along the way, as well as their families and friends. Summer school is underway as of yesterday. We had as many as 12 interested and semi-committed, but as of today, we have just 7 who are off and running. And one more that's kind of wavering about whether or not they're actually going to commit. They have to get in by the end of the week. Otherwise, they will no longer be eligible to start the program because they won't have enough time to do the coursework. Personnel updates. I'll be giving you an update on our salary schedule development project later in the agenda. Today was Candy Ewan's last day, our HR manager or director of HR, and I wanted to thank her for her dedication and years of service to the schools. Her replacement, Tino, began some training with her last week, and he will officially start on Monday, June 21st. Other personnel updates, we've hired case managers for Santa Barbara and Lompoc. We hired a new counselor to cover Lompoc and Buellton. We had hired a new counselor for Santa Maria, but that individual just unfortunately let us know just today that he has made other plans. So we're back to the drawing board for that counselor position, but we will get that posted and filled ASAP. We've hired 2 new teachers, one for Santa Maria, one for Santa Barbara, and then we did hire a new LC director for Santa Barbara. So we've got a lot of new folks coming on board. We did have 2 more teachers resign from the Santa Maria Learning Center, but I am waiting to hire replacements until our enrollment numbers are up a little bit. And lastly, in terms of personnel, I'm very happy to report that we just yesterday finalized the hire for the new position, the Director of Ed and Student Support. And I'm very pleased to get to work with that person, who will be starting on July 1st. And then just to update you on enrollment for next year, we do currently have openings at every learning center, so we are actively advertising. We had anticipated being to capacity, but then we had more students leave than we originally thought would. And many students that were on our wait lists have made other plans, so they're going to other schools. But I believe that we will see a surge in enrollment, in August, and even from what I understand of how Olive Grove operates, or that we might even see them coming in September. But I'm hopeful that we'll get those spots filled up sooner rather than later. And that is the end of my report.
All right, thank you. So board members report is next. I have nothing to report. Do any of the other board members?
I do not.
All right. And then financial report. Do we have a financial?
Oh, there she's presenting. Madi, if you're talking, you're muted.
Bit of a technical difficulty right there. All right, I see that you guys see it. And of course, these are all information as of April 30th, 2021. And it is compared to our second interim budget. And it's going to be 83% along through our fiscal year. Our revenue as of April, our actual was roughly around 4.3 million against the budgeted 6.3 million, with the variance of 2 million. We started seeing COVID-related funds come in, and we're still going to be receiving related funds, which are on reimbursement basis. We expect to receive all our budgeted revenues as soon as deferral LCFF payments are received. So personnel expenses as of the end of April were 3.7 million compared to the budgeted 3.8 million. It's a positive variance of 35,000. Operational, I am so sorry, I'm not moving the screen either. Let me move it if I can, sorry. Here we go. Operational expenses were roughly 1.7 million against the budgeted 1.9, with a positive variance of 237,000. Total expenses were roughly 5.5 million compared to the budgeted 5.8, with a positive variance of 272,000. Our net deficit as of the end of April as well was actual school year to date net deficit of 1.2 million. Our balance sheet, again, at the end of April, OGCS has roughly about 1 million in current assets. With no long-term liability. We're holding, again, the 355,000 in our restricted funds, which are made up of our OGCS vehicles. Our total liabilities plus net assets are roughly around 1 million, with a year-to-date net deficit of 1.2 million, as stated before. And then our cash flow, as we highlighted, is currently around 600,000. And of course, we see it dipping, but we knew with the deferrals that was going to happen. We are in hopes that we're able to weather this out with our recent, hopefully approved financial option. And I think Kristen's going to be talking a lot more about that later.
Yeah, I can talk right here a little bit, and then we'll talk obviously, cash flow projections for next year. But yes, we're looking to get funded next Tuesday. And so really that amount should carry us through. If you think about it, because we haven't received our LCFF payments February, March, April, May, and June, these 5 months, thankfully, Olive Grove has had the cash reserves to get us to this point, right? And so now in July, so just next month, we'll get what we should have gotten this month, June, as well as July's. We will get double payments basically for 5 months. So July, August, September, October, and November, we will receive the June payment we didn't get, the May payment we didn't get, the April, the March, and the February. So what is nice about that is that will allow us to replenish our cash balances and our cash reserves to again have some breathing room and some healthy cushion there. Because if you think about it, we'll receive twice as much in LCFF revenue, but we'll only have 1 month's worth of actual expenditures during those times. So this will be really helpful in us rebuilding that cash balance. And obviously the timing of the CSC financing coming through next Tuesday is literally just in time financing. We'll call it that. We are not taking it one day before, but we need it. So we're looking forward to that. And then, like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about cash for next year. Any questions? Thanks, Mari.
All right. I think the next thing on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Summer. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And take you into a roll call vote. Excuse me, Deb Willems,
Aye.
Hank Galena,
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, Summer. So we'll move on to the action agenda. So the first item is approval of the CSC resolution. So I'll make a motion and then we'll turn it over to for discussion. So I make a motion to approve the CSC resolution. Is there a second? Thank you. All right, discussion on the resolution.
Well, the basics behind this are what Kristen just told us. There's not a lot more to present. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. This is sort of a formality in a sense, to formally acknowledge and approve this resolution to finalize our intent to pursue financing through charter school capital. Is there anything else, Kristen, that you would add? No, she's shaking.
It's just some paperwork. So you already made the decision and took action to move forward with them. This is sort of like signing on the dotted line to now say these are the funds we're going to take. This is the date in which we intend to fund them. So we need this resolution to be executed as a follow-up to last week's action.
Okay. Are we ready for a vote? Hand it back over to you, Summer.
All right. Deb Willems,
Aye.
Hank Galena,
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Next item, I make a motion to, are we approving these or are they?
These do not require approval. Actually, this requires reporting to the board, the local indicators. So I apologize, it's not actually an action item, but it does require your review. So if you'd like, I'll just go ahead and launch into that review of these. There is some background information linked to your agenda. Basically, the LCFF legislation, local control funding formula legislation identified 8 priorities on which California's school accountability is based. And a lot of these priorities can be assessed through data that is fed directly to the state through reporting systems like CalPADS, or under some typical circumstances through the CASP system, the state assessment system. And those are things that get reported on the dashboard sort of automatically from the school's data. Then there are some measures that have to be measured locally, and those are what they call the local indicators. So those indicators we have to self-report into the dashboard. and those local indicators must be reviewed by the school's governing board. So, like I said, we have to annually measure our progress in meeting the requirements of the priorities. Then we have to report these results as a part of a non-consent item at a regularly scheduled public meeting. And then we have to report these results to the public through the dashboard using their self-reflection tools, which will happen at some date later in the year. They used to do these local indicators. You would report them like in November, and then they would appear on the dashboard when it was released in December, but they've changed the timeline to now where these local indicators are supposed to be reported at the same meeting where the LCAP is being approved. So that's where we are now. So I will take just a moment. I will share my screen and just give you a run through of our local indicators. Let me find the screen that I'm going to be sharing. And there it is. So we are looking here at the local indicator. You know what? It's not very big, but I think the font's big enough. This one in particular is for Buellton, but they all fall under the same formatting. So I will run through Buellton's and I will make some notes about some specifics that are aligned with each individual school. But again, when we do everything 4 times, many of our information pieces are the same for the 4 schools, but then data is specific to each school. So you'll see here in the local indicator, there's an introduction piece, which is what I just reviewed verbally. And then it goes through and lists what the standards are, the priorities that I mentioned, the 8 standards, or those, I'm sorry, the ones that are just the local indicators, which is priority 1, appropriately assigned teachers, access to materials, and functional safe facilities. Priority 2 is the implementation of the state academic standards. Priority 3 is parent and family engagement. Priority 4 is school climate. Priority 6 is school climate, and priority 7 is access to a broad course of study. The last 2 local indicators only apply to county offices of education. So those 2 descriptors are included there only for information purposes. So then when we start looking at our self-reflection tools that are provided to us to assess our progress in each of these indicators, this is the data that's specific to the schools. For priority 1, we have no misassigned teachers or vacant positions for the past school year. 100% of our students have access to the materials, so 0 are without access. None of our facilities do not meet the good repair standards, so all of our facilities are considered in good repair. With the implementation of state standards, we did the self-reflection tool to assess our progress towards these items that are enumerated here. And you can see visually, for the most part, we're in initial implementation. Some areas were in the beginning development. On the first rating area related to professional learning for teaching, related to making instructional materials that are aligned available. We're more in the full implementation stage for the different subject areas. In terms of implementing policies or programs to support staff, we are in the initial implementation. And then the progress towards implementing each of the following academic standards for these other areas outside these are core academics are in either the initial implementation or full implementation phases. And then our success at engaging in the following activities with teachers and school administrator. We are in the initial implementation for professional learning needs of the groups as a whole and individuals, and providing the support on standards that teachers have not yet mastered. And then the next priority, parent and family engagement, they ask us to reflect on 3 different sections: building relationships, building partnerships, and seeking input for decision-making. There's a lot of instructions here that I'm going to scroll through. And then again, you can get the visual of the building relationships area. We are generally in initial implementation in terms of developing capacity of staff, creating the welcoming environments. And when I say, this is not like we're not doing these things, but we're implementing things, and they're off and running as sort of the initial implementation. Progress in supporting staff to learn about each family's strengths, cultures, languages, and goals. And then our progress in developing multiple opportunities for the LEA and school sites to engage in two-way communication. And then there's a narrative section here where we can identify current strengths and progress in a focus area. So, there's progress to be made. The kind of focus areas are increasing parental and guardian involvement in our regular meetings with the advisors and the students. We do have parents come to those meetings, but I think that could be advanced further. And then another focus area is the use of language that's understandable and accessible to families, particularly non-English speaking families. And again, in terms of building partnerships, we are in the initial implementation phase for providing professional learning, providing families with information and resources to support their students' learning and development, progress in implementing policies or programs for teachers to meet with families there. We're at the full implementation because that's something that we do have solidly in place. And then supporting families to understand and exercise their legal rights. Again, initial implementation of that. As I mentioned, our teachers do work one-on-one with each student and family. So we have a well-defined program for discussing student progress. We're still working on translating all documents and forms, and we could improve in that area. And then also the seeking, enhancing partnerships to promote involvement in development of new program resources is another area we could improve. And then seeking input for decision making. This is an area that we tend to be in the beginning development in terms of really getting families involved in our advisory council meetings, and building capacity of and supporting family members to effectively engage in those advisory groups. We're at beginning implementation of, initial implementation of providing all families with opportunities to provide input, because we do have the opportunities there. It's just sometimes they're not always taken advantage of. And then the structures for providing opportunities for everybody to work together to evaluate the family engagement. And again, in the narrative, I wrote that we made the note that we do get input via teacher meetings, surveys, those kinds of things. We do have our advisory council, but attendance is inconsistent and low. Hank, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question on these numbers. I'm thinking about the goal formulas, from X to Y by when. And these numbers that we're showing, like 3 and 4, are those the X? In other words, we have, for instance, here, we have 2, and that's the start. And then we want to, next spring, that number we're hoping to be, say, a 3 or a 4. Am I? I'm
Well, I mean,
a bit confused about this.
Yeah, the rating scales are a little maybe hard to jump into with that full understanding, but I'm scrolling back up to show you what they want is for they want us to meet the so the analysis of our self-reflection of our progress towards meeting these indicators has informed the LCAP. So that's basically like we're taking this self-reflection and it did inform the development of the LCAP, but this does not have like an X to Y by when specifically built into it in and of itself. It's sort of the end goal would be to be at a full implementation and sustainability. And then we use our goals and actions and services in our LCAP to make progress towards getting there. So the LCAP more defines that like, well, this is where we are and this is how we're going to get there. And the by when is, by the LCAP term is, it's a 3-year plan. So that's more where you're going to see like what the actual goal is to get from this metric. This is our baseline to, you know,
Okay.
do these actions, and then we ultimately hope to reach this goal by 2024.
So these numbers are our baseline.
They're more baseline, but they're also more of just a reflection of where we are now in these
Yeah.
indicator areas. So it's not really like,
Okay.
I mean, we ultimately want to get to 5, but this is more of like a temperature check of like, where are we against these indicators right now?
Right. And so next June, when we see this again, for instance, this thing here about the progress to supporting staff to learn about each family is a 3. And then next June, we would hope that this would be a 4 or a 5.
I would hope it would move, there would be progress, yes, moving towards more full
Okay.
implementation, yes.
Okay, so this is really the X, and
It is.
and then we'll have
Yeah,
the
I guess-
Y.
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess you could look at it that way. It is kind of a, yeah, you could look at it that way. I'm stumbling a little bit because this process with these local indicators is an interesting one to me, and I've sort of struggled with it myself in terms of its practical application for our, you know, we use this as one way to measure our progress towards our actions and our goals in the LCAP, but it's like with these local indicators, it's quite an interesting way they do it in terms of the accountability system, because when you go through this self-reflection process, and then I report this to you as we've checked those boxes, right? And we say, yes, we did this. Then I submit this into the dashboard whenever they open that up for us to do that on this new time frame. And then the actual accountability piece either says met or not met. It doesn't say whether we've actually met any of these goals or any of these indicators or anything like that. The met just means that we went through this process. So, so that in terms of like the piece that goes into the accountability factor for the dashboard and the state, it's a matter of whether we go through this process and meet all those requirements, then we've met that piece of the accountability. But all of this will be available on the dashboard, and people can review it. The public can go in and look at it and review it. So it does have value, and the process of doing it has value. But it's just an interesting sort of process in some ways, where it's sort of like, okay, so we check these boxes and then we meet it. Whether we're actually in full implementation or haven't even started some of these processes, that doesn't factor into the accountability piece, which is good, you know, so it allows you to be truthful in your reflection.
I would say I'm used to seeing percentages, you know, 56% now, and then by June of next year, we're going to be at 68% or something.
Right. Yeah. And that's more the metrics you'll see in the LCAP, are more of that baseline percentages and data, and then looking for that growth. But this is really just rating kind of how we're doing and working towards achieving these things. Our progress.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Well, it's always a learning process, right? So then when we go to school climate, in this data, there is some specific data that's, you know, again, specific to each school, because this school climate asks you to use a survey such as the California Healthy Kids Survey, which we did administer this spring. So in the narrative piece, you'll see some actual data points, percentages of how our respondents report like how they respond to the student learning environment questions, as well as, so I pulled out in the promotion of parental involvement to give an indicator of the student and parent guardians' response to our overall school climate. So I'll say in summary, all of our scores in these areas are quite high. They're high 80% or in the 90s, even up to 100% of parents, guardians indicate they strongly agree that the school treats all students with respect. So I would comfortably say that in this area, the school climate area, based on our California Healthy Kids Survey data, we have, very strong support. They strongly agree that we are providing a healthy and safe climate for our students, respecting the students, encouraging them with high expectations, and providing quality counseling and supports and things like that. And then for priority 7, access to a broad course of study. This talks about the ways that we try to ensure that we have available to our students and that all of our students are taking advantage of as much as possible a wide variety of courses. So we do that through our counselors, and the advisors and the parents work together to make sure that the students are in the courses that are most appropriate for their own needs and goals. And then, in terms of a barrier, they ask you to identify any barriers. I would, the primary barrier is often the credit deficiencies with which the students enter, which is just what it is. But it is true that sometimes makes access to A to G completion unrealistic or undesirable for those students, because they just have to make the credits up, and then they are successful in earning a diploma in many cases, which is a great goal to achieve. And then, as I said, the priority 9 and priority 10 are not applicable. They're only County Office of Ed. Did I hear another question?
Not yet.
Okay, so again, I only reviewed bulletins here, but the only data points that have any variety are in this survey, the climate section. And again, they're all in the high 80s or, 90s to 100%. But you could look at each individual document if you wanted to see the specific data points in the climate survey section. And that is my presentation and my reporting of our local indicators. And as I said, when it comes time and they open up the dashboard to enter this information, I or a designated staff member will report this data through the school dashboard, so it will be publicly available at the appropriate time.
Good.
So there's no action to take, so we could just press on.
All right. Any other questions for Meg before we move on?
Yes, of course, ask questions.
All right. So that was B. So next item on the agenda, I make a motion to adopt the 2021-2022 local control accountability plan for each of the Olive Grove charter schools as listed for item C. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Hank. All right, Meg, want to start
Sure.
the discussion?
Yes, so I gave some basic background on this last week for the public hearing, but just a reminder that we must on or before July 1, complete a local control accountability plan for each school and annual update using the template adopted by the state board. We did not have to do this last year because of the pandemic, but this year we had to do the learning continuity and attendance plan. So this year we get to do an update for the 1920 LCAP, the 2020-2021 learning continuity plan, as well as an LCAP for 2021 through 2024. So we had to create this one document for each of the 4 schools that has the budget overview for parents, the annual updates that I just mentioned. There's also, then you get into the main LCAP document, which has a plan summary, the stakeholder engagement description, goals and actions, increased or improved services for foster youth, English learners, and low-income students, and then the expenditure tables, as well as at the very end is the instructions for the LCAP. And all of those pieces have to be included in each document. So I can further describe things, but I would be repeating a lot of what I said last week, but I'd be happy to do that if you like, or I can answer questions, or I can walk you through the documents, whatever your wish is. They are a chunk of change, so to speak.
Well, I've reviewed them. I'm comfortable with everything that you've put together. I don't have any further questions. Hank or Jackie, do you have any questions?
No, as I say, I've gone through 2 out of the 4 documents, and it's, I was able to understand maybe about 90%, 95% of what's doing there. But those numbers there were the ones that I was just a little thing on it. But there's a tremendous amount of work. I appreciate the opening on these things with the pie graphs and the graphics. I'm a picture person, a graphics person, so it made a lot of good sense to me as to where all the funding is coming from and where's it going. So right now, just basically looking at the first 2, and the rest, I'm sure that the other 2 are basically the same. Right now, I'm ready to say yay.
Yes, and you're right. All 4 documents, the goals and the actions and all those elements are the same in all 4, but the data and the dollars are specific to each of the 4 schools. So,
Right.
of course, the baseline, the metrics, all of those things that are in there are specific to each individual school. So that's the variability there, is like what the baseline is and what the goal is for that each individual metric. And again, the dollar amounts vary based on those schools, revenues and all those kinds of things. But other than that, like you noted, the other elements are the same in the 4 plans. Oh, and there's some enrollment information and things like that up in the very beginning plan summary, or the very introductory pieces that are specific to each school.
So it took you a couple of hours to put it all together. That was good.
Yeah, I had to comb through a little bit of data to find some of those things. But like I said, we did involve, we did do the stakeholder engagement. There was a lot of input throughout the year. But then in terms of compiling some of those final metrics and things like that, yeah, I had some fun on Data Quest and the dashboard and whatnot, digging up some data.
Yeah, it's a big, you could tell that was a lot of work went into that. So appreciate the effort to get that done. Thanks, Meg and the team.
Of course, my pleasure. And I'm going to delegate more in the future.
All right, well, I think we're ready to take it to a vote then. Summer?
All right, Deb Willems,
Aye.
Hank Galena,
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-0.
Okie doke. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda is D. So I make a motion to approve the 2021 to 2022 budget for each of the Olive Grove Charter Schools, Gilton, Lompoc, Orchid, San Maria, and Santa Barbara.
All right.
There's,
So move.
thank you.
If I can present.
I was say this time you get to hear somebody else for a minute. I'm going to mute myself. Kristen, please.
Let me see here if I can.
Can you find the present, or you want me to present for you?
Oh yeah, if you want to present that would be. Oh wait.
Oh, nope, you got it.
I think I got it. Maybe.
You did.
Can you actually see my PowerPoint? Nice.
You can see the PowerPoint, yes.
Yay! You guys are the only ones that use this platform, so I'm always like, where's my present? All right, so fiscal year 22 budgets. For the first time, you guys are going to actually see some variance in our ADA, which is nice because, as a reminder, we have been frozen forever since February of last year. So now we were able, the leadership team was able to take a look and really think hard about what current enrollment looks like, what ADA percentages are trending, and what a good forecast is for this next year. So you'll see overall, we have an ADA increase of a little bit over 12, which is great. So this is for each school. And then I'm going to show you the consolidated picture, but then I'm going to show you each individual school's budget position, because that is basically the budget that you are approving for submission to the state board. So collectively, we are in a great spot. I think we have made good strides. We are looking at Santa Maria in a surplus position of $471,000, Santa Barbara is much more closely approaching a break-even point at a deficit of just a little bit less than $62,000. Lompoc is at $45,000 surplus, and Buellton is basically at a break-even at $4,263. So collectively across our family of schools, we are estimating about a $460,000 surplus position with our final fund balances of about $1.1 million.
Okay.
So as a reminder, we have the good fortune of having a really well-established mechanism to ensure that all of our schools hit our 5% reserve requirements. So in some cases, you'll see our reserves exceed that amount. And so we transfer out and move it into that central office kind of holding account. And in some cases, a school might need a little transfer in, again, to meet that 5% reserve. But what's really nice is collectively across the family of schools, they are estimated to be contributing to that sort of, holding account over $370,000. So we're definitely collectively in a very healthy position financially. We will, the submission documents that go to the state will demonstrate that 5% reserve requirement. Some may be a little bit higher only because I don't want to transfer out more than and create a deficit position if we can help it. So a few of them you will see it's a little bit higher. You can see down here, Santa Maria, I didn't transfer out all that we could have because I want this to stay green, right? And Santa Barbara took some in so that we can get approaching that 5%. Lompoc theirs is staying higher, but I didn't want to take more. And Buellton is staying right around that 5%. I could have taken a couple dollars more, but I wanted to give them a little bit of cushion. So what's nice is when the state board receives each of these budgets, they will see 3 out of the 4 in a surplus position, 1 in a deficit position, but all of them meeting our required reserve requirements. Okay, so let's go through each one. So Santa Maria is budgeted to have 276.4 ADA. That's driving our revenues just shy of 4 million at $3,992,393. And our expenses are $3,520,955. That makes up that surplus of 437 that you saw previously. I wanted to call out just a couple of items. The expanded learning opportunity and ESSER 2 revenues in the amount of $387,000 are included in these revenues. And you can ask the ladies, I'm super mean. So because they got $387,000 in revenues, I made them put in $387,000 worth of costs. The thought is these funds are intended to provide additional services to address learning loss, and they are basically a reimbursement-based program. So these dollars aren't helping us or hindering us. They're only elevating at the same rate, both our revenues and our expenses, but keeping that ending position sort of true, if that makes sense. So that's sort of the big picture there. We updated some lease costs and some IT consultant costs. We removed the cost of the Lumen financing that was going to be, that we had originally intended. And to maintain a 5% reserve and surplus, we are transferring in $470,000, which is nice, right? So the fund balance would have been above $1 million. We're going to leave it at about $600,000. The way this works is that 437, I can transfer $470,000 and have us still show a surplus position. I don't want to take more than that. So you'll see our ending surplus will be basically a break even because we are contributing so much to that, that general account that helps out the family of schools. So really the goal here is for us to always have the ability to draw from that and maintain those reserve requirements. There is no requirement of the state to have a certain amount of a surplus. They don't like to see deficit spending more than 3 years in a row, but they do require that we have that 5% reserve. So basically, the position that you would be approving for Santa Maria is that $3,992,393 in revenues, that $350 or $3,520,000 in expenses, plus a transfer out of $470,000. That would get us to a surplus position of $1,437 and a fund balance of $601,093. Are there any questions? Okay. So that, when it is time, that is the budget position you are approving for Santa Maria. Santa Barbara, we have made great strides, and really it's going to come from increasing a little bit of enrollment and still tweaking a little bit our staffing, but we are getting there. So they are looking at an average daily attendance of 150.4. They have $200,000 in expanded learning opportunity and ESSER2 revenues included. So their revenues are about $2.15 million. Their budgeted expenses are a little bit over $2.2 million, which puts them at that $61,795 deficit position before a transfer in. So we are proposing a transfer in of $165,000 to get that fund balance up above the 5,000 or the 5% mark. So their ending position will actually be a surplus of $103,205. So really it is a mechanism of maintaining that 5% reserve. So Santa Barbara will look better because they will benefit from that transfer in, which basically offsets their actual expenditures. Any questions on Santa Barbara? Okay, moving to Lompoc. So Santa Barbara is the only one that is transferring in a huge amount. Santa Maria is transferring out a huge amount. They're really contributing. Lompoc is transferring a little bit. They're transferring $40,000. Again, I didn't want to take more than their $45,000 surplus. So I'm leaving them with a $5,086 surplus and transferring out the remainder. Their average daily attendance will be 107.2. Their revenue is 1.6 million. Their budgeted expenses are a little bit under that, which would be a budgeted surplus of $45,000. This includes $224,000 of expanded learning opportunity and ESSER2 revenues and those offsetting costs, and then some updated lease costs. So again, after the transfer out, that $45,000 surplus goes to a $5,086 surplus, and their fund balance will be $363,098. Any questions? All right, we're almost there. All right, Buellton, it's so close. They almost don't even need a transfer. $2,608, really close. So their ADA is projected to be 54.5. Their total revenue is $662,566, of which $33,226 are expanded learning opportunity revenues. They are not eligible at this time for ESSER2 revenues due to their size. So they also, though, because I'm mean and consistently mean, have $33,226 of expanded learning costs associated with it in the budget. And so again, to maintain that 5% reserve and surplus, they will be transferring in $2,608, which will bolster their budgeted surplus to their reported surplus up to $6,871. And that gets them just above that 5% mark that we need. Any questions? Okay, so really quickly, just before you approve the budgets, I just want to show you a lovely snapshot that does reflect the deferred payments that we'll see, our external financing, and my favorite color is green. So there is projected to be no cash shortfall. I think our lowest point would be $725,000. So really, like I said, when I was chatting during the financial update, we really will start to replenish those payments and that cash balance pretty quickly over the first 5 months of the new fiscal year. As we receive those double payments, we repay back our external financing and sort of get right-sized there. So really overall, I would say a healthy outlook for this next year. Any questions?
I love your green arrow.
I know you're visual. I know. I always try to put something fun on it. Tom Nichols, who's our executive VP of Client Services, he always laughs at me. He goes, "Kristen, I want it to make a noise like pow and kabap," and I'm like, "Take it easy. It's not a Batman movie," but I do like to put little extras. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I will figure out how to stop sharing, and I will mute myself and hand it back over to Deb for the vote.
All right. So let's do a roll call vote. Deb Willems. Deb, are you there?
Sorry, I was talking on mute. It was my turn. I just wanted to make sure Jackie didn't have any follow-up questions before we started voting.
Okay.
No, I do not.
Okay, thanks. Yes, so I'm an aye.
Okay. Sorry. Hankalina.
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 3-0.
All right. So we'll move on to item E. I make a motion to approve the new and revised salary schedules as noted in item E. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Okay. We'll hand it back over to Meg to give us a overview.
Yeah, so at first I wanted to take the opportunity to give an update on the salary schedule development project. As a reminder, we contracted with CSDC, the Charter Schools Development Center, to review our existing compensation infrastructure and to develop a cohesive compensation strategy that is tied to objective measures, including similar charter schools and local district schools, and then to develop salary schedules for all positions, because we currently have just one standalone certificated staff salary schedule. So in update, at this point, CSDC has identified other K-12 non-classroom based charter schools in geographic areas with similar median home prices. They requested data, compensation data from 19 schools and received data from 10 of those. I'm sorry, the cleaning folks have arrived. So if you're hearing the flushing toilets in the background, it's because I'm at the district office and they're here cleaning. I should probably close my door. Anyways, it's funny, you do stuff at home and you get background noise. You do stuff at the office, you get background noise. Anyways, so then she also gathered data from 3 local districts, including Santa Maria Bonita, Santa Barbara Unified, and Lompoc Unified. Just a note about some of the data that was gathered, it included compensation comparisons from non-classroom based schools that didn't meet the median home price criteria, but they wanted to get, the person in charge of the project at CSDC wanted to get some additional data for certain positions. So at this point, CSDC is recommending that we end up creating 6 distinct salary schedules, one for certificated management director of ed position, another certificated management 2 for our learning center directors, a certificated schedule 1 for the teachers and our ed specialists, another certificated 2 schedule for counselors and special ed counselors, and then a classified management and a classified schedule. So those would be the 6 that we hope to end up with. At this point, we are ready to bring to the board a certificated management 2 schedule, which is for our learning center directors. The others are still in development and are not ready to come to the board yet. But I do have on your agenda the request to approve the Learning Center Director salary schedule And in creating that salary schedule, it necessitated some immediate changes to the certificated schedule that we currently have. The primary one being that I want you to approve this revised certificated staff schedule to extricate the Learning Center directors from that schedule and put them on their own schedule. And then there were some updates to some stipends that I'm asking the board to approve on that certificated teacher and ed specialists and counselors schedule. It will come back to you again because I do, like I just mentioned, the project has recommended that we end up creating another standalone schedule for the counselors, separate from the teachers and the ed specialists. So again, there will be some continued evolution of our certificated staff schedule as it stands, but for the moment, this is the changes that I am ready to propose and request approval of. So again, what I'm bringing to you tonight, I'm going to present here to show you specifically. Let me just pull them up so that I can do that. The first request is to approve the new standalone salary schedule for the LC directors, the Learning Center directors. And so you have an idea of what we're talking about here. The schedule, the Learning Center directors were previously compensated based on years of teaching experience with a stipend. And so this will remove them from that model, and it creates a standalone schedule where the compensation is based on years of leadership experience. And because we have a variety of sizes of learning centers, I created a 2-tier schedule so that those learning center directors of smaller centers, they have fewer students that they're supervising and fewer direct reports, so fewer teachers that they're supervising and evaluating. So their compensation schedule starts at a slightly lower rate than the larger center, which has, a higher number of students and a higher number of direct reports for that learning center director to be responsible for. So it's not a vast difference in the starting schedule, the starting step, but there is that recognition that there's different sizes and responsibilities there. And then I changed the stipends to add a $3,000 stipend for PhD or EdD. And because this salary schedule is only based on leadership experience, not years of not credits earned or education levels, I added a master's stipend to this particular schedule to recognize that educational advancement. I want to be clear that I am requesting the board to approve this with grandparenting in current staff. So this would be effective July 1st for anybody hired on or after that date, that any current staff or current hires, if this would disadvantage them in terms of, if it would move them down in terms of their pay, they would stick with their current pay, so they would not be disadvantaged by the new salary schedule. If it would benefit them, then I would propose, that it's effective for those staff members, that it would benefit them and increase their salary, but I am not looking to disadvantage and decrease anybody's salary of anybody that's already signed an employment agreement for next school year, an at-will agreement. So that's my.
Have the Learning Center directors, have they had a chance to look at this schedule?
No, well, maybe. I did let them know it was coming onto the agenda. They are on summer break at this point. I did let one of them in. So we have 3, 2 of whom, if I were to apply this to them, their salaries would decrease. So this would not benefit them. So I would propose that this does not impact them. Like I said, that they be grandparented in to get, to stay at their current salary level. The one who it would impact and potentially raise her salary, I let her know that it was, coming up on tonight's agenda. But no, they have not, I have not presented to them for their review. Specifically, like put it out there for their review.
How is this in with both of them, the two salary schedules that we're proposing? What is the overall impact to the budget?
Well, like I said, the budgeted amounts for the current teacher, the current Learning Center directors, it would only change in one instance. It would increase the personnel costs in Orchid Santa Maria, but that school is the most sound in terms of its surplus positions, so it could be absorbed. But the other amounts were already budgeted for in the others. You know, those other ones wouldn't impact it because they wouldn't be changing from what was budgeted.
They're kind of salaries that, I was looking at the salaries and going back to my thing within the local school district, with the administrators, the school principals, the salaries, they're kind of basically the same. Well, they're close.
Yeah, so we did a fair amount of that comparison sort of situation. Yeah. And this does actually, when we look at similar schools as well, like these non-classroom based charter schools that are of similar sizes or similar median home prices in the geographic area, it actually puts us pretty much right kind of on average. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest. And we looked at it across like the year 1 salary, the year 4 and the year 8, like where we would fall in comparison. So I think it's competitive. It's not egregiously high, but it's also not, embarrassingly low, so to speak.
No, it's fine. I just was curious about it because it does look good.
Good, yeah. Yeah, and it's a little hard to compare to a principal at a site-based school, but we did look at, again, we looked at some of the local districts for that too, but it's not an apples to apples comparison in terms of the positions, but it is a good thing to look at because those are the kinds of people that we would probably be trying to attract, to recruit, would be principals and that kind of thing for this particular position. Now, Deb, you asked about the other salary schedule too, and I can show you that as well. But again, the net impact to the budget, would you like me to go ahead and show you that other one? And then I can, let's see here.
I'm indifferent. If we're done with this conversation, that's fine. I just didn't know if you had kind of that total number.
Yeah.
We can go over, yeah.
Again, it wouldn't have any impact to the budget because the amounts have already been budgeted for. So this is the proposed certificated staff salary schedule, the one that I'm proposing to revise slightly. And the major revisions, I bulleted them down at the bottom here, would just be to extricate the LC directors from this. So it is just for teachers, ed specialists, and counselors. And there's some minor formatting changes in the way it looks. But then the other things I did change were the stipends. So I did change, but again, people would be grandparented in for the current stipends. If they, for instance, our ed specialists currently get a 5% stipend. In my opinion, and in our research, it doesn't really make sense to give it as a percent of an individual's salary because it varies. Like, somebody could be on step 30 and they're getting 5%, and somebody might be on step 5 and they're getting 5% for having that ed specialist credential. It didn't really make sense to have it be a percentage. So we revised it to a flat amount for that stipend for the credential. Same with the single subject math or science. I made it a flat amount, but I do not intend to impact current employees. It would only be effective for new hires because, again, I don't want to disadvantage any individual that already works for us and has an expectation of what their salary was going to be. So that's what's budgeted is the salaries as those employees are expecting. So it won't have any impact on the budget. I did increase the PhD stipend. It was $1,000. I increased it to $3,000 on this schedule, but we don't currently have anybody, as far as I know, that has a PhD, so that shouldn't have any impact to the budget. I just specified how the counselors are actually paid for those 10 extra days because it wasn't entirely clear to me on the previous salary schedule how the 10 extra days were compensated for our counselors, because they do work 10 more days. So I just clarified that in the way I wrote it. But again, the impact, there should be no impact to the budget in terms of the revisions that I made to this salary schedule for the current budget. But again, if we hire somebody new, it could impact the, the credential stipend they get or something like that. But it would be, again, a flat rate.
This
Okay.
is all new to me because in my experience with dealing with salaries and the different thing had to do with union negotiations. This is why I asked the question of have the directors been involved with is this a negotiation? But it's not a negotiation situation.
Correct. We don't have a bargaining unit at this point. Just so you could see the visual, this was what the previous one looked like. Again, the formatting I changed slightly to remove all these gaps, and just consolidated that. And then it's too tiny for you to see on my presentation here, but that's what the stipends were. And I put in red the changes that I'd made. But there were a bunch of different stipends and they were so I just sort of consolidated them and again, made them flat rates instead of percentages.
Yeah.
Oh, and
good.
the one I did consolidate, we had a stipend for if you had both your math and science single subject credential, you got 7%. But the fact of the matter is, A, I don't think we have anybody that has both of those credentials. And B, it's actually of no benefit to the school if you do have both of them because we only have teachers teaching science or they're teaching math. We don't have anybody that's teaching both of those subjects. So it's not really like it's a benefit to the school. It is a benefit of the school if you have a science credential or if you have a math credential, because those are hard, those are harder to fill those positions, but we're not, it's not a benefit to us if you have both. So I just took it out. If you have science and or math, you get the flat stipend for having that credential.
Okay.
Well, that's good that we don't have to go to negotiations with this.
Right.
Because as I look at the salaries compared to what I was used to and working with, they're pretty comparable with the local public school districts. So that, and it's amazing the fact that this thing can be done this way without having hours and hours and days of negotiations back and forth and name calling and sorry. And thank you, Meg. Thank you for the work you've done with this.
Sure. Well, I will say it's been I did contract with somebody who was doing a lot of the research and analysis and the presentation, but I did spend a fair amount of time working with her and discussing and calculating and putting it through. But you're right. Sure. We didn't take it back to the staff for the input in that manner. And at this point, we're not required to do so. Of course, So.
Yeah.
But it is an ongoing project too. Like I said,
sure.
This is just where we're ready to approve now. So moving forward, there'll be a few more things coming through. So this would be the one that I am asking for approval on action item 8E, 1, the approval of the LC director salary schedule. Do you want to do them separately?
No.
You want to do them together? So that's 8E1, and then this is 8E2 that I am asking for approval. So there we go.
No, that's fine.
And I guess the motion you made was for both of them, so it doesn't need to be separated out.
No.
Any other questions I can answer?
Okay, well then I guess we're ready to take it to a vote.
All right. Deb Willems,
Aye.
Hankelina,
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-0.
Great.
All right, so the next item on the agenda, I make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 Charter Safe membership proposal. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Hank. All right, discussion?
Second.
Okay. This is
I'm sorry.
our Charter Safe is the company with whom we contract to provide our schools with their insurance and risk management services, and the contract has to be renewed annually. So I suggest you approve. The only item that we're really actually approving is the membership proposal. I included some extra documentation in your board packet, link there on the agenda. That's some background information, including the invoice to show the cost and that kind of thing. So that's all for your information and background. But it's the membership proposal is what we are approving. I request you approve.
Yeah.
And it is a significant cost to the school, but it is a pretty critical one. To the schools, I should say, not just the school. Are there any questions I can answer about the Charter Safe proposal?
No, I'm pretty familiar and comfortable with it. Thank you, Meg. Okay, well, let's turn it over to Summer.
All right. Deb Willems,
Aye.
Hank Galena,
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
All right, 3-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so I make a motion to approve the quotes for the pathway services for fiscal year 2021-2022 for each of the 4 learning centers.
Mm.
Was that a second, Hank?
Okay, second. I'm sorry.
That was good.
Okay.
All right. Now, this one, I don't know if it would normally come before you every year, but I did want to bring it to you because the School Pathways is the school information system we use. So it's a critical component for our database and information, and also for our reporting, our attendance reporting, our CalPADS reporting. It's a very critical piece. But they haven't raised their rates in like a decade, apparently, they said. But they did raise their costs for next school year. So I wanted to bring these to the board because the net increase is approximately $4,000 across the 4 schools, then higher than what we've paid in previous years. But they do give a discount because of the multiple schools and all that kind of thing. But the total cost exceeds what I can approve in terms of our fiscal policies. So I wanted to bring that to you for your approval. I would recommend that you do approve them. We do need the system, and it's a critical component. So there you go. If I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
I'm familiar with this. I don't know if Jackie or Hank, if you guys are you familiar with this pathway service? Do you have any questions about how we utilize this service or the impact?
A little bit. I'm not completely informed about it, and this basically right now, I feel that because of things that the positive things that have been happening and the recommendations that I go with the recommendation of Meg with this at this time. But I do want to know more about it. But right now, I think this right now, let's to go on Meg's recommendation.
Okay. Meg, maybe that's something that we can add to a future agenda item, just to, maybe in your report for an upcoming meeting, is understanding what this service is and how we use it at the school.
Yeah.
Sure thing.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're ready to vote.
All right. Deb Willems,
Yes?
Hank Galena,
Aye.
Jackie Height.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-0.
Okie doke. Then the next item on the agenda, I make a motion to approve of the 4th amendment to lease for the Santa Barbara facility.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All right.
Okay, Hank?
All right. Now this, as you said, is the 4th amendment to this lease. You actually approved the 3rd amendment not that long ago. because there were multiple spaces that were under different leases, and we a few months ago brought them all into one lease because one of the spaces, the lease expired in February, I think it was. So we brought them all together, but this lease now expires in July. So we negotiated with the landlord and the property manager to extend the term of the lease for 2 years, which matches the term of the charter. I did shop around a little bit and looked at another space because the rent is costly in Santa Barbara. But the rent is costly in Santa Barbara wherever you look, and the cost and the difficulties of moving, I decided I didn't think it was a benefit at this point, especially since our charter is up for renewal in the coming years. And many places we were looking at, they would have wanted a 5 to 7 year lease. So I just decided this landlord was willing to work with us. And so we negotiated to get the 2 year extension. And they actually threw in covering the cost of some of the flooring that we need to replace and part of the center there. So that was great. So we're going to get on that and get the flooring replaced on their dime. And then I recommend you approve the Fourth Amendment.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Discussion points? Okay. All right, Summer.
All right. Deb Willems,
Aye.
Hank Galena,
Aye.
and Jackie Height.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-0.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is discussion and information items. So board business. I don't think we have anything. Meg, did you have anything for that item?
No, I don't. Nope.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just have a suggestion. Maybe it's me, but we had a tremendous amount on the agenda for tonight. And, with the LCAP and all the budgeting and this, I wonder if we can kind of spread it out a little bit. I've got to get up and walk around, but if we could do something like
Well, Hank, I'll actually cover that. Legally, we have to approve the LCAP, the budget overview for parents, the local indicators, and the fiscal year budget all at the same regular meeting. It's a heavy lift. We know. It's a tough one.
It just took me so. Wow.
Yeah, it's a
No,
lot.
that's
for
fine.
sure. Next year, I'll make the LCAP short. Oh, actually, next year the LCAP will be shorter because we'll only have one update.
Okay.
And next year, Hank, I promise to add some kind of fun picture in my budget presentation and keep it short. Okay. I promise.
And I'm a little disappointed that Meg did not have pizza for us. I mean, come on.
I don't know about you, but Pizza Hut delivered to my house today and I had pizza. And we'll pretend to arrange that. Thanks, Meg. You're the best.
Well, I only arranged it for you though, Kristen.
I know. She's playing favorites, Hank. Sorry.
Well,
I'm
I
being
tell you,
flip.
when we're back together, I will buy you a pizza, Hank.
I'm being flippy. I'm just being flippy tonight. No, but I appreciate everything that's been done by our administrative staff there at the district office and all the work that's gone into all the paperwork and the budget. Oh my gosh, and the LCAP and everything. And I just feel that thank you. Every once in a while, I get a little flippy.
Well, thank you, Hank.
We're almost done, Hank, so hang in there.
Almost there.
Okay, so then the next item is the new business future board agendas. So we wanted to try to schedule the board meetings for our upcoming board meeting. Meg, did you have some recommendations?
Well, wouldn't that be nice if I had? Actually, well, my suggestion would be, and this would be up to the board. One is, oftentimes boards don't meet in July. We did meet last July, and I'm open to meeting in July if you would like to. but oftentimes boards take July off. So that's one consideration you can tuck in there. So then after that, I would suggest like right before school starts would be August 10th. That might be a good time. But then, the other thing to consider is if we want to try to place it on a regular Tuesday, like the second Tuesday of the month, or, if we want to try to look at that. I did not sketch out dates for the rest of the year, for the whole year for next year. I couldn't quite get to that yet, but if we want to kind of talk about that, or if we want to just start with a date in August and then we can go from there, I can propose dates for the rest of the year in August and we can move on from there. It's up to, it's kind of up to whatever works best for you. And we could talk about if Tuesdays are still the best days for everybody or, that kind of thing too. But again, maybe just setting it for August at this point, and then we can work out all the rest of those details for next year at that August meeting if we want. Or if you want to have one in July, we can set one for July and then go from there. It's not very helpful.
Yeah, and then typically, I think we do it like at the annual meeting where we have more strategic discussions, and then we also do the Brown Act training.
Yeah, and you've had your annual meeting in August. I mean, the last couple years, the year before, I know you had it in August, and then I did it in August because that's what you had done previously. But it seems to me that's a little bit of an odd time to do an annual meeting like that. But I mean, the Brown Act training is important towards the beginning of the year there. But like in terms of the annual meeting, yes, it seems August seems like a little bit of an unusual time to do sort of that, but
I think that's what's in our bylaws.
Oh, is it in August in the bylaws? Okay.
I thought it was in our bylaws, something about the start of the year to, and I don't have it in front of me because it's still in a box somewhere. But
last year we did a regular meeting, then we did like a Saturday for that sort of organizational annual meeting.
Right.
I have
and that was
boards that do board retreats. None of my boards are meeting in July, but one board is repurposing that July meeting to be their board retreat. I have others that do their board retreats on like a half day on Saturdays, and sometimes they'll do it like late spring and late fall and do sort of strategic planning, get some training out of the way to talk about anything that's a big discussion item above a certain dollar threshold if there's facility things. So, there's a lot of different ways you can get to the same outcome. So just a suggestion. There's lots of different ways to do it. But I will say, if we can stick to Tuesday, I have a lot of board meetings, but nobody else has Tuesdays. So I don't even care what Tuesday it is, but Tuesday is my Olive Grove day. So that's just me.
Good with me. So
it does say the annual. Yeah, I think when we updated our bylaws, we took that out. It just says the annual meeting shall be held each year for the purpose of electing directors, making and receiving reports on corporate affairs, and transacting other business outcomes to the board. So kind of feels like any other board meeting. It does say we have to have at least 6 regular meetings a year, including the annual meeting.
Yeah, when I was thinking for next year, it's probably a good idea to plan to have a monthly meeting. I mean, this year I tried to take some months off, but then we ended up scheduling additional meetings anyways. So I was thinking probably a regular monthly meeting. I mean, there might be like 1 month or 2 months where we don't meet, maybe in December. So you have to look at when we need to meet in early December, probably for the first endurance. But anyways, I have to look at all the due dates and all the deadlines and everything like that. But so in terms of 6 meetings, I think we probably should shoot more for 9 or 10. Although that number,
I think that also goes to Hank's comment, which I agree with, which is trying to keep them a little bit more level loaded wherever possible. So, and having more would allow us to do that. And I think we still want to work on some of our policies, and this helps us keep that cadence.
Yeah, I think planning on kind of a monthly meeting is a good idea. But again, I think the July one is up in the air if you want to or not.
I'm okay not doing the July one at this point. We do have a closed session item, so we may need to have a follow-up meeting after that. We'll see how that goes.
Okay. Well, then I would suggest August 10th, because school starts on, I believe it's August 12th. So it's like back to school, or August 17th. So it'd be like the week after, school starts. Actually, maybe for me, the week, I don't know which would be better for me in terms of prepping a board packet with school starting. It's really, I mean, we could even go to August 24th, which would be the fourth Tuesday of the month generally.
Personally, I'm available each of the 10th, the 17th, or the 24th. So, and
Hank or Jack, do you have anything yet?
I have I'm
Nothing
wide
yet?
open. Whatever you decide to do it in August, that's fine.
I'm good as well.
I'm just sitting here debating about whether, I feel like if we wait all the way, that the 10th gets us more off and running right along with the start of school and everything like that. But it's also going to be busy because teachers are coming back to work. I don't know, Summer, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I think maybe the 10th would be good to jumpstart the school year.
The 10th would be good,
Yeah, I think so.
even though it's going to be busy with teachers coming back and all that. Okay, let's go for the 10th. We'll do it, the 10th.
Well, and Meg, if you think about it, you do your prep work kind of the week before. So if it were the second week, you'd be killing yourself because you'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do this because everybody.
Yeah, you're right.
So I said the 10th.
The 10th.
Right.
Let's say the 10th.
10th
As
wins.
long as it's a Tuesday, I'm on board. I don't
All
care.
right.
August 10th, and do we want to stay with 5 o'clock?
Fine.
yes, that's a good point.
Or for Deb, it could be earlier. I mean, I don't know Jackie and Hank and Teresa's schedules, but if you're looking to make a change, Deb is 3 time zones away.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with earlier.
Hank, are you good with earlier?
I'm fine.
I'm going to have a little bit of an issue with earlier because we'll have IEP meetings on Tuesdays in Santa Maria. Sometimes they go a bit, but I'm open to whatever. We'll make it work.
Well, could we do 4, Summer? I mean, I know you might run a little later.
Yeah, we could do 4. 4 would be okay. Just anything earlier would be hard.
I'm just trying to think of our poor East Coast.
I know. I agree with
the sunshine girl over there.
And we could work on the minutes issue, Summer, if you had to run late or whatever, we could.
Okay, perfect.
So should we say 4? Should we go for 4?
Sounds good.
Try it, and if it doesn't work, then we can always, but maybe.
4 o'clock
I think
it is.
Yep. Okay. And then let's look about the Brown Act training too. I can't remember if we did it. Did we do it in August or did we do it in September?
We did it in August last year, but I think it's required annually. So I'll have to look at how we want to do that. How and when we want to do that. If we want to do it at that August 10th meeting, because we should have probably conflict of interest training too. And we might be able to do some self-paced training too, so it could be done. I don't know. I have to look into the legality if we have to do it at a meeting or if we can do it where it's provided to you to do, and and then there's some certification of it or something like that.
That would be wonderful. for me, who's done it a couple of times now, at least. And okay.
Okay, as
Well,
we
we'll wait to hear from you, and so we'll plan on August 10th at 4 Pacific, and then we'll work on putting together that agenda and from there. Okay.
And then you reminded me about the closed session. I didn't send a number, but it can be the same number. Can I, if Hank if I email it to you right now, can you get that, or you want me to text it to you?
It's the same number we used last week, right?
The same number we used last week, but I'm going to send an email right now.
Okay.
Same number
Jackie,
we
do you
used
still
last
have it?
week.
Okay.
You got it, Deb?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to say goodbye, I think, because you guys are going to go do fun stuff,
Yes.
closed session. So thank you, everyone. You'll have a different back. I'll be back in California August 10th at 4
Where is
p.m.
it?
I'm excited. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so at 9:51 Eastern, then we're going to go to closed session.
6:51.
Thank you.
Am I calling in, Deb, or am I staying here?
Yes, if you could call in, that'd be great.
All right, we'll go to closed session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meg-
Okay, it looks like we're all here. So I will bring the meeting to order at 7:05. We will return to open session. So report out from closed session. The board has an action to follow up with Young Mini and Core, but there's nothing to report out on the agenda at this time.
Deb, I'm going to do a quick roll call just coming back from closed session.
Okay.
That's okay. So I'll just do that quick. Deb Willems.
Sure.
Teresa Brown is absent. Hank Galena, you there still?
He's on mute.
Okay, Jackie Height.
Here.
Okay. And all right, so then, oh, there's Hank. Hank's back. Hank, you back from closed session? Oh,
I see he's on mute. So
yeah, he's on mute. Okay, we're good. So you already reported out. I got the notes. Could you repeat it one more time, Deb? Actually, I didn't write it down.
yes, the board has an action to follow up with our legal counsel, and there's nothing really to report out at this time.
Okay.
And our plan, and then we plan on adding something to the next meeting, which is August 10th. An agenda item to follow up.
Okay.
Okay. So we just, oh, there he is. Hey, Hank. So as we discussed earlier, our next meeting will be August 10th at 4 p.m. Pacific. And with that, I believe we are adjourned at 7:07.
Thank you for all of your attention to all of those big documents and required reporting and everything. I appreciate it. And I will see you all in August.
All right. Have a good summer.
Yes.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.